Born Savage, Blood Rose Nights, Book 2. Written by Keary Taylor. Narrated by Raven Wildwood. Chapter 16. And how long has she been missing? Sigrid asks the man standing in the center of the ballroom.
She hasn't just gone missing,
the man says with angry tears.
She's been kidnapped. Can you describe them?
Roman asks. He leans forward, his elbows braced on the surface of the table.
You said you saw security footage.
June was grabbed by a big man with brilliant red hair, the man says. Tattoos up both arms.
And your husband?
Roman asks as every set of eyes in the room shifts over to the woman standing beside the man. It was two women, both of them with black hair. They stuck a needle in his neck. He collapsed and they dragged him into an SUV. Shit. Yesterday, there were reports of the kidnapping of two gifted. When Sigrid got two more frantic calls, she'd called a meeting of the Night Council. So here we are, hearing the disturbing tale of two more kidnappings, both of gifted Chicagoans.
That description doesn't match Marcus or the woman we saw with Archer,
Roman says darkly as he looks down the table at me. I shake my head in confirmation.
Which means more of Archer's followers have arrived in the city,
Mason says. The cult is gathering, Elena sighs as she leans back in her seat. Warren put an intention on the barrier when Pablo was still hunting me, I say, as the idea sparks. Could he do the same thing again, this time for anyone entering the city looking for Archer? I do believe so, Sigrid says, considering the idea and nodding in approval. I will call my son.
I can keep guards all around the city,
Roman says.
If we can activate someone to track them down the second they cross the threshold, we might just be able to catch them, and get them to tell us where Archer is currently hiding.
We are so sorry for what has happened, Mason says, as he stands and pulls the crying wife into his arms.
We're going to do whatever we can to get your husband back, and put an end to this once and for all.
She doesn't say anything. She simply clutches Mason, softly sobbing against his chest. Out of all the council members, Mason is undoubtedly the most compassionate. It's been 8 days since Roman and I stormed the theater, and I died my 4th death. Roman's team has caught Marcus's face on a security camera, but they have yet been able to track him down. Over the past 3 days, 7 gifted individuals have been kidnapped. Archer is escalating. Sebastian's phone rings. He takes it out, glances at the ID, and walks away from the table to answer it. I think it's time you order a full lockdown for any gifted in the city, Elena says, as she looks over at Sigrid. They can't keep putting their lives at risk. Until Archer is caught, we can't risk any more lives. Easier said than done, Sigrid says with a sigh. Until it affects them personally, people are stubborn and don't take kindly to disruptions to their lives. A body was dropped on the steps of this building, I say incredulously. What do we need to do? Bring the next one around to each of their houses for them to see the reality of what's happening? A wail sings out through the ballroom, and Mason looks back at me with a sharp glare. Oh, yeah, I forgot. We're not alone here. We have 2 grieving loved ones in our presence. I'm really sorry, I offer. That was insensitive. But please, tell the others. If they don't understand, we have to make them understand to keep them safe. Sigrid glances over at Sebastian, and when she sees his grim expression, she stands, her hands on the tabletop. The Night Council will do everything in our power to bring your loved ones home. Until then, a member of the security detail will escort you home. Please, try to get some rest. The woman nods, wiping tears away as a guard steps to her side and guides her to the door. The man looks at Sigrid like he wants to say more, to demand she do more. But what is there? So, when one of Roman's guards walks to his side, he silently turns and walks out. What is it? Sigrid asks. Her words come out as a hiss, but they're also laced with dread. Sebastian slides his phone into his pocket and, with a heavy expression, walks back to the table.
A body was dropped at the door to my office. It's the woman who went missing yesterday.
Body. A body was dropped at his door, not a woman. Archer kills them when he takes their gifts. Elena curses loudly. We need to end this, now. More bodies mean more questions, which means more attention from the police, and then the news. How long can this go on before certain keywords on the news trigger listening ears and watching eyes? We might need to send someone to distract the Alloways, Mason says, as he slides his hands into his pockets. I had almost forgotten. There are supposed to be royal vampires who keep their regions in check. Chicago falls under the rule of the House of Alloway, but I remember someone calling them a couple of idiots. I think I have just the person for the job, Mason says with a low growl. Let's do it, Sebastian says. The last thing we need right now is a royal poking their nose into the city. Mason nods and turns away from the group, his cell phone to his ear. I need to get to the hospital, Sebastian says. If we keep all the bodies in the morgue, maybe we can get our hands on that necromancer and bring them back, I say, as the idea strikes. Inspiration dawns on Sebastian's face. I like the way you think. Archer might be hard to get hands on, but Marcus only has one gift. Roman. I'll bring him in myself, he says. He rises from the table, and I don't know if I've ever seen so much darkness in his eyes. Pablo evaded him once, but he wasn't hurting anyone. It was just me he wanted. But now, this cult is a threat to the entire city, and people are dying. Without another word, Roman goes straight for the door, and he's kind of terrifying looking. Like the ultimate predator, he stalks out of sight, disappearing into the night. I'm going to meet with Stephen now, Mason says, as he hangs up the call. He'll keep the royals distracted. I'll have him on a plane in an hour. All the others nod, and we watch as he, too, disappears out the doors. I better get going, Sigrid says as she collects her things. It is going to be a long night for me. Would you like some help? I offer, always eager to spend time with my distant aunt. Nope, I'm taking you home with me. Elena jumps in, hooking her arm through mine. Excuse me? Why? I react automatically. Rude, she barks back. You should go with Elena, Sigrid says, and my head whips in her direction as my brows furrow. If you don't want me going with you, I'm going with Sebastian back to the hospital, I bark. Juliet, go with Elena, Sebastian says, a slight sigh in his voice. What the hell? I stare at each of them with my mouth slightly agape. Why are they all ganging up on me? Come on, Elena says, as she leans into me. I haven't talked to you in weeks, and I need to catch up on all the juicy details of your life. Fine, I say begrudgingly, because I'm realizing what's happening. All three of them are worried I'm going to run off and do something crazy since there's so much going on. I'll make you some creme brulee when I get done tonight, Sebastian says, in a peace offering as he steps forward and places a kiss to my forehead. You're a conniving one, I accuse, even though a smile is tugging on one corner of my mouth. Always, he says, with a wide grin as he walks backward toward the door. By the way, emerald, marquee, square, cushion, oval. And my face flushes brilliant red with his questions and the knowing look on his face. Evil. Evil, evil, evil. He knows exactly what he's doing, asking that in front of Elena. Surprise me, I answer, because it's honestly what I'd prefer. He looks very pleased at my answer, and, with a wink, he turns around and disappears out the door. What the hell? Juliet? Elena practically erupts the moment he's out of sight. Is he meaning what I think he's meaning? I'm so red. I know that I am a brilliant red tomato, and I'm going to make Sebastian pay later for doing this to me. Maybe? I say, drawing out the word with a cringe. You owe me details, Sigrid says with shocked eyes, even as she heads for the door. I have a busy night ahead, but you will tell me everything later. I nod in agreement, knowing I'm turning a few shades deeper. Are you serious? Elena gasps as she takes my arms, shaking me just slightly. You and Sebastian are getting married? Her volume increases with each spoken word. Calm down, I hiss. I swipe her hands off me and take a step back from her, placing my hands on my hips with one deep, steadying breath. Look, he hasn't actually proposed yet, but yes, we've talked about it. And talked about it seriously? Elena asks for clarification, both brows arched. Because I didn't even know the L word had been proclaimed. Apparently, we need to talk a lot more often. My heart is sprinting right now. I'm full of all kinds of emotions. But as I look at my best friend, I realize how much I have missed her. Elena, you weren't there when Roman brought me into the hospital after Archer's massacre, I say, and my stomach sinks, remembering how Sebastian fell apart. I've never felt like this about anyone, and Sebastian would most certainly murder everyone in the world for you, she fills in, without a second's hesitation. I chuckle, then pucker my lips inward between my teeth, embarrassed that the statement makes me so damn giddy. Hell, this is fast, Juliet, Elena says, blinking rapidly as she turns away from me, searching the ballroom like it holds the answers to all the recent problems. But I don't know. It makes sense. You seem happy. Sebastian is obviously purring like a kitten. So what the hell does it matter if you've only known each other for 6 months and you were with someone else for 2 of those? My stomach sinks at that, and it must be obvious because when Elena turns and sees my face, her own matches it. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that, she apologizes. That doesn't even matter. I'm not upset about it, I swear. It's not like we're getting married tomorrow, I say, my voice coming out flat and quiet. We haven't even talked about a date. Hey, I'm really sorry, Elena says as she steps forward, pulling me into her arms. I didn't mean to be a bitch. I really am happy for you. If you're happy, I'm happy. She pulls me back so she can get a good look at me, her eyes dropping up and down the length of me. You know what this means, right? Oh, no. I do know what this means. We get to go wedding dress shopping, she says, with a jovial, mischievous grin. So, don't schedule that wedding sooner than the next 6 months. Chapter 17. A dozen people die the next day. And I'm not being dramatic. Roman's crew kills 9 people trying to come into Chicago, looking to join Archer. A more sympathetic person might have just taken them prisoner, but Roman is a savage, and the entire city knows it. And during the brightest part of the day, 3 bodies are dropped on the steps of the Night Council building. And it's public. The bodies are seen. The police are called, and the Night Council has to deal with the police for the next few hours, negotiating their silence. I do miss out on some things. I'm not a council member. I don't have to deal with the really messy things like buying police off and making things go away before the media can catch wind. But I'm here when the black van pulls up to the back of the hospital. Dressed in my scrubs and a lab coat, I help Sebastian unload the bodies. The woman's husband, the man's wife, and a girl that can't be more than 16 years old. This is awful, I say, through a thick throat as I push the girl into the refrigerator of the morgue. All these people, all these gifts. How many did you say Archer killed last time? 29, that we know of, Sebastian reports grimly. I stand with my hands braced on the cool steel door and shake my head. And who knows how many others he killed and stole gifts from before he came to Chicago. I don't think we can even imagine the power he has right now. Not every gift is all that useful or strong, Sebastian says. I turn, leaning against the refrigerator, and watch him sink back into a chair. But it's a numbers game. He's gotten his hands on some powerful people. The gears turn in my head. He has to have an end goal with this. Right now, it's obviously just about greed. He's just taking whatever he can left and right. But then, where does this all lead? What is he going to do with all these abilities that he's acquired? Sebastian curses and shakes his head.
It's going to get to the point where we can't stop him. People who like to take don't tend to stop. That man could ruin this city, hell, the whole country, if he just keeps building in power.
My head hangs, and the weight of this all feels heavy on my chest.
We'll get him, Juliet,
Sebastian says, and his arms wrap around me, pulling me into his chest.
And we'll kill him. We did it once before. We will do it again.
But time is ticking, and day by day, he's growing more powerful. More and more bodies are dropping. Sebastian's phone rings, and reluctantly, he lets go of me and pulls it from his pocket.
Roman, give me good news,
he says, holding my gaze.
I'm on my way to the hospital.
I hear him on the other end.
I've got the necromancer. I may have used a little excessive force. We'll be at the emergency room doors in about 3 minutes.
Sebastian curses, and his eyes go wide as he looks at me. But neither of us hesitates as we go straight for the doors.
What are we dealing with? I may have tackled him over the edge of a building,
Roman answers begrudgingly.
He's in one piece, but he's unconscious. There are definitely a few broken bones.
Seems Roman took a play out of my book.
We'll be ready,
Sebastian growls, as he hangs up and we burst into the hall that leads to the emergency room. The second we step through the doors, we're both barking orders, trying to prepare for whatever is about to come. Broken bones, concussions, collapsed lungs, lesions, they're all possibilities. We need Marcus Lontalk to survive. We need him to bring half a dozen people back from the dead. Adrenaline surges through my blood, and even though we're awaiting the arrival of a definite villain, and knowing he can bring people back from the dead gives me the creeps, I find myself bouncing lightly on the balls of my feet in anticipation. This is what I live for. 60 seconds later, Roman's black SUV screeches to a halt outside the doors, and half a dozen personnel jump into action. As they load him onto a gurney, I fire off a quick text to Sigrid, letting her know that she needs to come in. And just a second later, they roll Marcus Lontalk through our doors. I can already tell his left arm is broken, the kind of broken that's going to take surgery and pins to put back in the right shape. There are 3 huge gashes going down the right side of his face. His breathing is labored and rough. So we launch into action. I don't even spare one glance at Roman as we set to diagnosing all the damage caused by the fall. We treat the most urgent things first. A collapsed lung, the internal bleeding. We stitch up his face. An MRI scans his brain, and while there is swelling, it's already going down. And then I follow Sebastian as we wheel him into the operating room. His arm is a mess. The bones are shattered, and it takes 4 plates and 15 pins to put it back into shape. He is going to be screwed up for a while, but he'll live. Good. He doesn't deserve to die and get away with all of this. A tech rolls Marcus into a private room, and I look down the hall to see Sigrid waiting impatiently. Her face is pale, but her expression shows the rage and vengeance rolling through her mind. I wave her toward us, and we all step into the room, me, Sigrid, Sebastian, and Roman.
You just about broke him in every way possible,
Sebastian growls, casting his gaze at Roman.
But he's going to survive.
How long until he wakes up? Sigrid asks. I glance up at the clock. It's 5 a.m. We've been working on him for 6 hours straight.
We need the swelling to keep going down in his brain, but it's looking good. We're keeping him under for at least 6 more hours. After that, he will just have to wake up at his own pace.
And then we can make him bring back those Archer killed? Sigrid asks, her entire body strained, tight.
Hopefully,
Sebastian answers honestly.
We won't know his full mental state until he wakes up.
Her lips thin, her skin pale, Sigrid nods.
I'm keeping a guard over him until we need him,
Roman says. He pulls out his cell phone and texts somebody.
I need to get back to my team. 2 other cult members tried to cross the barrier since we've been in here.
He glances back up.
Call me as soon as he wakes up. We need to interrogate him. We'll use whatever force needed to get him to tell us where Archer King is hiding.
I simply nod, and he and Sigrid both stride out. My eyes slide over to Sebastian, and he scrubs his hands over his face. He might be an immortal vampire, but it's been over a week since either of us has slept. Let's go home, I say, reaching out for his hand. We need to get some rest. There's nothing else we can do right now.
"'Kay,"
he mutters, following me out the door. Together, we walk 3 blocks to Sebastian's building. When we step into the elevator, I step into Sebastian, wrapping my arms around his waist. He settles his chin on top of my head, and neither one of us says anything as we rise dozens of stories into the sky. Just as we step into the penthouse, the blinds begin automatically closing, signaling the rising of the sun.
"You want to shower first?"
Sebastian asks. As I look back at him, my eyes slide down the length of him. Something hungry, something wicked sparks in me. Maybe we just run down to the courthouse right now, and then we can both shower at the same time. That wicked smile pulls on his mouth, and he steps forward. He hooks his fingers into my pockets and draws me to him, our fronts lining up.
"Juliet Doe, you are quite the temptress, but I promised you every vain option. I promised you the event of the century. I keep my promises."
"Oh, fine," I say teasingly, and walk away from him to go find his shower. We spend a lot more time in my apartment than his penthouse. But as I walk through Sebastian's bedroom, something occurs to me. If we're getting married, we are going to move into the same place. I don't see Sebastian downgrading to my apartment, and as I look around, I know this place is amazing. Do I see myself living here? Could I come to feel like this place is my home? All of the places I've ever called my own were dumps. Since the moment I turned 18 and took off to live on my own, I've barely scraped by. I lived wherever was cheapest, but they were my places. They were my space. And even though they were crap, I still loved them. I really like the apartment where I live now, but even that place isn't mine. Sebastian owns it. And even though I pay him rent, it still doesn't feel like it's mine. It still kind of feels like he was doing me a favor by setting me up in it. I wash my hair, scrub down my entire body to clean the dead off of me. When I get out of the shower, I wander into Sebastian's closet and come up with a black t-shirt that is large enough. It covers most everything. With bare feet, I pad back out into the living area to find Sebastian unloading the dishwasher. The moment his eyes land on me, they trail down my bare legs, taking every bit of me in.
"I've changed my mind,"
he growls as he stalks across the kitchen. I can't help but smirk at my success in seducing my boyfriend. He grips me around the hips, spins me, and then pins me against the island.
"The courthouse opens at 9.
He whispers against the hollow beneath my ear.
"Let's go."
I chuckle, very, very pleased at his reaction. He hooks his hands under my arms and lifts me to sit on the very edge of the counter. With his hip, he pushes my legs open and steps between them. Watching his face, loving every reaction, I loop my arms behind his neck. "You're a man of your word, remember?" I tease.
"We've all had to break promises every now and then,"
he says, as he brushes his lips from the lobe of my ear down my neck, where he grazes his teeth against my skin, sending a wave of goosebumps flashing over my skin. I say, shaking my head. What would all our friends think?
"Trust me when I say I don't give a damn,"
he mutters as he sucks at the side of my neck, and it's everything I can do to keep my eyes from rolling back in my head. And I realize I am friends with Elena, with Mason, with Sigrid, not Roman because he's a moody prick, but to Sebastian they're co-workers, not friends. Does Sebastian have friends? Though I get it, I'm not good at making friends either. Most people can only handle so much grief in another person's past. I wanted to pose a situation for you, I say, as I lean back from him just to put a bit of space between us. His eyes are hazy, and his fingers grip at my hips tightly, but he takes in a breath, doing his very best to think clearly.
"I'm all ears,"
he says, even though his gaze trails down me again, landing on my hip as his hand slides from it, down my thigh. When these devious plans have been executed and you make an honest woman out of me, where are we going to live? My stomach knots asking the question, because I am the one in the vulnerable position here. I don't have anything, and he has everything. His expression sobers, and his eyes narrow just slightly as he thinks about my question. And he doesn't answer immediately, and that is exactly the reaction I had hoped for.
I always assumed here, though, to be honest, I haven't given that aspect much consideration,
He admits.
But honestly, Juliet, it doesn't matter. So long as I have you, I couldn't care less where we live.
My chest warms as the smile pulls on my lips. Then you wouldn't have a problem with it if you and I picked out a place together? If we both applied for a loan, went in on the title 50-50 and everything? Once again, Sebastian takes his time in considering. He doesn't just fire off a thoughtless response. Everything he does is careful and calculated.
We can find a mansion in Old Town. We can renovate a tiny hovel in the South Side,
he says gently. He reaches up, cupping the side of my face, running his thumb over my jaw.
I hold no attachment to this place. I will do whatever it takes for us to find our home.
He pulls me closer to him, wrapping his arms around my waist. And the smile flutters onto my lips. I feel at peace, because for the first time in my life, I have the space to be myself, to voice my fears and my worries, and to not be seen as dramatic or broken. I love you, I say softly as I look up into his dark eyes. He cradles my face, and I've never felt more seen, more understood.
I love you more than anything, Juliet.
Marcus stares at us with bold determination, his lips firmly closed.
You do realize that you may be able to summon the dead, but we can make your life very painful,
Roman says, as he places his hands flat on the bed, leaning forward. Do you know how long it's been since I've had a taste of fresh blood? Elena says. Her eyes flash red, black veins sprouting around them, and she gives him a deadly smile, showing off her lengthening fangs. You look like you'd taste sweet. Marcus's expression looks a little more panicked. He's been staring at us, all 6 of us, silently for half an hour, refusing to speak a word. He has answered no questions about Archer. He's offered no insights into what is coming, and we haven't been able to convince him to bring back those Archer killed.
Did you know that there are more than 20 arteries in the human body?
Sebastian says. His own eyes flash red, and there's something about seeing him like this, in his full element, proof of the immortal he is, that sends a spark of want through me.
You are surrounded by 4 vampires, who could each take one of the major ones, and you'd be drained in about 4 seconds. You've dealt with plenty of death, I would guess, but are you ready to face it yourself?
Marcus breathes just a little heavier. Did you also know that there are 206 bones in your body? I say, my voice turning low and sweet. Have you seen how fast a vampire can move? You're facing 2 vampires who are also doctors. We know what breaks are most painful, or, how to tear you apart in ways that won't kill you. That sounds effective, too. I reach out a hand and wrap my fingers around one of his own and apply just a little bit of pressure.
Okay,
he instantly shouts.
Take me to the bodies. You're a smart man,
Mason says.
All these vampires are complete savages.
I press the button to raise Marcus's bed, and Sebastian rolls a wheelchair to the side of it. Marcus might be awake, but he's not in great shape. I reach for his good arm to help him into the wheelchair when he yanks his hand back with a hiss.
Do not touch me, bloodsucker,
he growls, glowering at me with dark eyes. Oh, we're going to sling names? I ask with snark. Trust me, I am well versed in the art of Shakespearean-level insults. You do not want to start with me, corpse fondler. That gains me a few reactions of shock and entertainment, but I don't look at them. I grab Marcus's arm, snap him forward without jostling his broken parts, and land him in the wheelchair. He falls back into it with a shocked and pained groan. With a satisfied chuckle, Sebastian wheels him out of the room. "This is why I love you," Elena says, as she walks beside me. The staff watches with pale faces and dead, focused eyes. The nurses, the doctors, the other patients. Most of them are aware of what really goes on in Chicago, so most of them know exactly who this man is and what he's been helping the collector do. We roll out of the emergency room, down the hall, and finally, we enter the morgue. I wonder, do you have any kind of understanding of the effects of losing a loved one? Sigrid asks. I cross to the refrigerator and one by one begin pulling out the bodies of those Archer has killed. To you, death is nothing, but to everyone else, it is heartbreaking. Losing a loved one. Sigrid shakes her head and leans down to look Marcus right in the eyes. It changes people. It ruins lives. Marcus glares at Sigrid with those dark eyes. He keeps his lips sealed, and he sits there like a defiant teenager.
"Let's get to it,"
Roman says.
"I don't have a lot of patience, and time is still ticking. You do it now, or I might decide you don't really have a need for your left foot."
Marcus glances at Roman, a true spark of fear in his eyes, beneath the defiance. But he nods forward for Sebastian to roll him closer. And when his wheelchair is placed between two of the sliders, he reaches a hand up to either one. His right arm is heavily casted, but his fingertips are still exposed. Those he gently touches the woman with. The room instantly grows frigid. The morgue is always cold, but this is something different. This feels haunted and cursed. The space grows quiet. My ears feel muffled. And when I look at Marcus, his eyes are entirely black. He begins muttering words, staring straight ahead, unblinking. And as he begins speaking, I feel this rush, as if there is something sprinting through the room, though there isn't a single hair on anyone's head that ruffles. But there's something. I feel something. Marcus's words grow faster, more frantic, though I still can't understand what he's saying. But colder the room grows. And then instantly, that rushing sensation stops, and both the man and the woman sit up with a gasp. Every single one of us slide back a step with a start, knees bent, hands rolling into fists, fangs lengthening in mouths. Every single one of us prepares for the unknown. But both of them simply sit there on their sliders, breathing hard and fast. Both of their eyes are foggy, glazed over with death. Their skin is pale and slightly opaque looking. They look dead. But every one of us can see them breathing. Where am I?" the woman asks.
"Why can't I see?"
the man asks in a panic. Marcus releases the both of them, and his hands move to the other two, both on the sliders beneath the two he has brought back from the dead. Again, that cold fills the room. The rushing once more begins. And I wonder, is it their spirits? If that is the difference between life and death, it would make sense. If our spirits, our souls, leave our bodies when we die, part of bringing someone back from the dead would be to put those spirits back into the body. Suddenly, it feels disturbing, the feeling of the rush in the room. What if that spirit collides with me? Now I'm just being dramatic.
"Just stay put for a few moments,"
Sebastian says to the two who just woke up.
"We can explain everything shortly."
"You can trust us for now," Sigrid says. And she's braver than I am. She steps forward, taking the woman's hand. She still looks dead. I don't want to touch that cold, rubbery feeling flesh. "Please stay where you are." And just a minute later, the other two come back to life with a gasp. Marcus's gift is powerful. I wonder how many other gifts can be this powerful. He has control over death. I want to know the bounds of his ability, but that's the wicked part of me. When I think about it, it's kind of amazing he hasn't been taken prisoner before. Grieving people are desperate. When you love someone enough, you'd do just about anything to bring them back. Or so I assume. Just a few minutes later, Archer's last victim rises from death.
"Good,"
Roman says, as soon as the necromancer removes his hand from the last victim.
"Now, you and I are going to have a long chat about what you can expect from here on out."
Without another backward glance or advice on how to keep the necromancer breathing, Roman wheels him out of the morgue. Good grief. Who knows what the hell Roman is going to do to him? I know what a monster Roman is, but we're desperate. More people will continue to die if Archer isn't caught. So, I'm going to turn a blind eye to the monster. For now, he's left us to explain the insanely impossible to 5 very confused victims. 5, now completely giftless victims. Chapter 18. The bed is perfectly comfortable. I'm the perfect temperature. And the arm slung around my waist is one of the best feelings in the entire world. But the buzzing of my phone from the nightstand pulls me from my half-asleep state. I roll over, reaching for it. When the name on the screen reads Roman, my heart jumps into my throat. I glance back at Sebastian, only to see he's rolled onto his side away from me, and his deep, heavy breathing says he's still asleep. So I climb out of bed and silently pad out of Sebastian's bedroom. I walk clear out of the apartment and take the elevator down to street level. Vampires hear everything, and if Roman is calling me directly, well, who the hell knows what's going on? And since the moment Roman carried me into the hospital after being liquefied, Sebastian has barely taken his eyes off me. What is it? I ask, as I call Roman back, holding my phone to my ear.
It took some prompting, but I got Marcus to talk,
Roman says, cutting any introductory bullshit.
I've got a plan. It's the only thing I see working quick enough, but I need some bait.
You sure know how to sway a girl into helping, I say sarcastically.
Look, if you don't want to do it, I'll figure something else out,
he sneers. Shut up, you asshole, I bark. I'll do it. I don't know what you have in mind, but since you're calling me, I think I have a feeling. I'll be your death girl, Roman, if it means taking out Archer once and for all.
If Sebastian finds out, he's going to blow the whole thing.
Roman moves on.
Can you get away from him tonight?
I'll think of something, I say, as I look up the skyscraper toward his penthouse. It's nearly morning. I need to get back inside before the sun breaks over the horizon. Where? When?
Meet me at the club at 8,
Roman says, and then hangs up. Oh, goody. Roman's plan involves a rumor, misdirection, a graveyard, chains, and the help of 3 gifted individuals. I tell Sebastian I need some girl time and I'm going to Sigrid's house. I'm only half lying. I do see Sigrid, but it's in the upper floor of Roman's nightclub, Roman Nights. And we don't talk girl talk, we talk death and traps. It starts with the rumor. Sigrid leaks word that I am not a true vampire. That while all vampirism is the result of a curse, which it is, mine was a gift I developed. And in being a gift, it can be taken by Archer. Vampires might not have too many woo-woo powers like the rest of the gifted, but we're immortal, incredibly strong, fast, the ultimate hunters. When I think about the rumor, it sounds completely bogus to me. All vampires are the same. Even I would be just like any other vampire if my mother hadn't cursed me. But this is Chicago, after all, and no one is what they seem. If it's possible, it would be here in this city. And word spreads like wildfire throughout the streets. The gifted are one big network. The gifted have lived side by side with vampires in this city for a century. And now, there is someone who is a blend of the two. The development of one into the other. The misdirection comes in the form of solid information. Roman finally extracted the location where Archer's remaining cult members are hiding out. And so, just 20 minutes before we put our plan into action, Roman leaks the information of Archer's location to the rest of the Night Council. Only Sebastian, Elena, and Mason will show up, but they'll be aided by 30 of Roman's guards. The graveyard is the site. The chains are the magical product of one of those gifted individuals, and Sigrid stands at the ready with the other, armed with a dozen of the fake healing crystal necklaces from Malcolm's shop. Warren invited me to go to karaoke with him, I say, 2 days after we put everything into motion, 40 minutes until countdown. I feel kind of bad. We're supposed to be friends, and I haven't seen him in months.
You should.
Sebastian says, as he walks up to me and runs his hands up and down my arms.
Besides, I'm still indebted to him for his ability. Without Warren, things might have been much worse with Pablo.
Exactly, I say, as I tap a finger to the tip of Sebastian's nose, pulling a smile from him. Don't get bored without me.
Well, that's a given,
He says with that smile I love so much, as he pulls me forward, pressing a kiss to my mouth that nearly distracts me into staying put for a good 20 minutes. But tonight's plan is critical. The timeline of it all is crucial, so I pull myself away from him and walk to the elevator. I walk out of the building right at 7 o'clock. I hook right, heading up the block, and duck into the shop. I buy some trashy flowers, the only ones available at this time of night in the beginning of December. Through the drizzling rain, I walk north. I do not take the most direct path, but I don't make it so obvious that I'm taking a strange route. I walk right in front of Archer's building, knowing that eyes are on me. Because that was part of the rumor. My mother is buried in Graceland Cemetery, and today is the anniversary of her death. So, of course, I would visit her grave and bring flowers. It was more information pulled from Marcus the necromancer. When Archer King takes gifts, he prefers to be alone. He doesn't like witnesses, even from his own followers. If I had to make a guess, I would say he doesn't want his people knowing all the gifts he possesses. A man like Archer doesn't trust anyone. So, as I hop on the L and head to my destination, I'm confident that Archer will come alone. As I look down at my watch, I see it's exactly time. Roman will be making the call now, sending a death squad to take out the followers. When I get to my stop, I clutch my sad bouquet and walk back out into the wet and chilly night. In the distance, the sounds of sirens wail, the constant chorus of living in an overly populated city. But I keep my gaze fixed on the destination up ahead. The entrance to the cemetery is surprisingly unremarkable, considering the name of the place and the important people who've been buried here. There is an iron fence that surrounds the grounds, and the gates are anchored to 2 stone pillars. Cemeteries are equally creepy and beautiful, but an ever-echoing display of the differences between the rich and the poor. There are simple headstones, level with the grass, and there are huge obelisk markers, even statues. But I ignore them all and head deep into the center of the cemetery. We picked this place because who would be out here, as it's getting dark, in the rain? We needed somewhere private, somewhere we wouldn't be heard, and those spaces are difficult to find in downtown Chicago. It's packed roads, endless skyscrapers, and the occasional park, but there's never any guarantee you'll be alone in those, even if it's dark. There are street lamps in them. But not here. It's getting darker by the second, which means my vision is getting better by the moment. Somewhere out there, Roman is hiding. Somewhere out there, a dozen of his guards are also waiting. And somewhere out there, Sigrid and one of her charges are waiting for their moment. Deeper into the center of the cemetery I walk. And when I do not receive the call, I know that the plan is working. If Archer didn't take the bait, if he didn't see me out on the streets after hearing the rumors about me, Roman would call. But tonight, there is no call. The hair on the back of my neck stands on end. Ahead, I set my mark, the false tombstone of my mother. It has to be a woman. They have to have died young enough to be plausible, and the years have to be close enough. Poor Jolie Winnick is just the woman. Tonight, she gets to pretend to be my mother. "Hi, Mom," I say, in my best acting voice as I walk up to her headstone. It isn't big or fancy, but it sits there, clear and clean compared to some of the others around here. I rest one hand on top of the headstone and squat, looking at her name. I tuck the flowers into the built-in vase. I can't believe we're here. Another year gone. Goosebumps flash across my arms because I hear the sound of footsteps, just barely, about 100 yards behind me. "I wish you could be here," I say, continuing the charade. "I wish you could see how things have changed recently. I got my medical license. Can you believe it? Me, the girl with the record for the most detentions in 1 year. I huff a laugh, but the words kind of hurt. I never got this. Even spoken to a headstone, I never got to speak to my mother. And it's because of the man currently stalking me. My fingers curl in anger, and a piece of granite cracks off the edge of Jolie's headstone. Oops. Sorry. I think you'd like Sebastian, I say, rambling, because Archer is still 75 yards out. I mean, for the most part. He's confident and successful and organized. Bit of a flirt, though. So maybe he's not mother-type material. You would have liked Mason more. The words slip out before I remember that Roman can hear me, as can his guards, as can Sigrid. Whatever. Things are getting pretty serious. I continue to spew words, pretending to spill my guts to my dead mother. We're talking dates and diamond cuts and wedding dresses. Elena is going to drive me up the wall with that part. I think I might just leave the entire thing up to her. Fashion never was my strong suit. 30 yards. And then I feel it. We had to assume Archer would use one of his stolen gifts to protect himself when he made his move. I'm a vampire. Fast, strong, with wicked fangs and the ability to tear people in half. When it boils down to it, Archer is a weak human. But I feel the stiffness creep into my joints. I feel myself standing against my will. One foot flat, and then the other. I stand straight, like I'm a puppet. And one slow, controlled step at a time, I find myself turning around. And there he is, Archer King, the man who killed my mother, the man who tried to liquefy me from the inside out, the man who has killed dozens in this city, and countless others. Juliet Doe, he says, you are all I seem to hear about the last 2 days. Oh, you've been on my mind a lot too recently, I say, trying to cling to my sarcastic smile and wit. But all I want to do is rip him limb from limb. Maybe it's a good thing he's immobilized me. Otherwise, surely, I'd do something stupid and wreck the whole plan. How romantic sounding, he says. His voice is low, controlled. He continues walking toward me, and finally stops, just a foot and a half between us. You have powerful friends, but I also hear reports you make some very stupid decisions. What can I say? Once an orphan brat, always a brat, I say. I try to shrug, but I'm still locked in place. You grow more interesting by the moment, he muses. And then he raises his hands, touching them to either side of my temples. In the end, it was the risk that I was willing to take. We have to do this at just the right moment. Our timing needs to be perfect. It's how Archer does it. He touches his victims. His hands glow green, and then he takes the gift. We need to time this right. But when it comes down to it, the right timing might come after he takes my gift. But I don't even know what my gift is. So am I really losing anything if he were to take it? Interesting indeed, Archer says, as his eyes fall to mine, his brow rousing. My head feels like it's full of skittering spiders. It's like he shot 1,000 tiny fingers through my brain, and they're desperately combing through it, trying to unravel what and who I am. It seems you cannot always trust rumors, he says, as a coy smile begins pulling in one corner of his mouth. But the truth is so much better. A hybrid. You are something I have never encountered before, Juliet. You're welcome, I say through gritted teeth. If I could move, I'd be jerking out of his grip and kicking my booted foot clean through his face. I'd be ripping every bit of my hair out, trying to get those spiders out of my brain. I remember you now, he says, his gaze deepening as he peers down at me. And her. Hers is one of the most complex gifts I've acquired. I have yet to learn how to wield it. His confession sends a wave of relief throughout my body. The thought of my mother's gift residing inside of this man has felt dirty, disgusting. Knowing he can't touch it yet, it feels justified. Good, I spit. But who knew she tapped into that gift moments before her end? He says, his voice growing even softer. That one so young, an infant, possessed such a unique potential. I try to hold on to my poker face. I really do. But there must be some kind of change in my expression. Oh, you haven't even discovered your gift yet, he says, with amused realization. How sweet. It's one I've yet seen. I do not know how much value it will give me. To be honest, I would have preferred your vampirism. I want to beg him to tell me what it is. After Sigrid told me that she knew I possessed a gift, I've wondered. It's hard to imagine something in too much depth when you have such little understanding of it. But I've wondered since that moment. Archer studies my eyes, searching the depths of my soul. I feel those spiders dig deeper, furrowing down into the darkness of my mind. How noble it is. He wants me to ask. He wants me to beg him to tell me what it is. I will not give him the satisfaction. Screw him. One of my favorite abilities I've acquired is one of the earliest I took. It is one that allows me to peer into an individual's future, he says. Would you like to know what your future would have been? His words chill me. The future. Can anyone really know the future? I don't know. In Chicago, I know someone who is a human lie detector, someone who can alter memories, someone who can track a person through magical tattoos, like the one on my left forearm, leaking down onto my hand. Love would have been your downfall, he says, his voice little more than a whisper. He leans in closer, his fingers never leaving my skin. For yourself and the one you love. You hide in lies, Juliet. And so long as you would have held on to them, you never would have gotten what you want most. Tears are welling in my eyes. If he weren't holding me prisoner, locking me in place, my entire body would be trembling. Archer shakes his head, and that almost looks like true remorse in his eyes. So tragic, because you could have had the potential to correct the ending to one of the world's most famous tragedies. Stop, I hiss. The word comes out thick, difficult to evacuate from my throat. Sometimes the truth hurts, he says in a whisper, leaning even closer. But the truth sets us free. If you had come clean about your gift, but even more so about your curse, your future would have been entirely different. And there is this surge. The spiders dive into the depths of my soul. They tangle around my very core. And like a flash of lightning in the middle of a storm at sea, I see him reach it. My curse. His eyes widen as he reaches it. Glee sparks to life in them. No, no, no. Now, I breathe, barely able to get the word out, because it feels like he's created a vice around every organ and blood vessel in my body. There's the crack of a gun, and before I even feel the pain begin, dozens of bodies spring from the dark. There, in the center of them all, I see Roman. He drops the gun at his side, and he's gone in an instant, a length of glowing chain in his hands. We need to take Archer alive, so that gunfire was meant only for me. There it is. As Roman collides with Archer, as an unearthly howl fills the night, the acidic fire rips through my chest. The bullet entered my back. It splintered through my heart. It broke a rib as it exited through my chest, and it clipped Archer under the arm at his side. Archer's hold on me evaporates as he's tackled to the ground, bound by those glowing chains. Automatically, my hands go to my chest, trying to catch all the blood that pours from my body. I knew this was the plan. I readily agreed to it. When it came down to it, I was ready to die for the people of Chicago, for Sebastian's safety, for Sigrid's, for Elena and Mason's, for everyone else who has come to this city for refuge. But Archer rooted around in my core. I felt those spider fingers caress my curse. I felt him pry them into it. Archer took my mother's gift. The one that gave me the curse that has saved me from 3 deaths. As my knees hit the ground, and I watch Archer turn his head, his dark eyes fixed on me, I don't know. Did he take my curse? Did he break it? He saw it. He explored it. And now, maybe I do get to die for those I care about. Darkness starts creeping into the edges of my vision. I hear someone saying my name. And then Sigrid's face comes into my vision, but it's blurry. "Rest now, Juliet," she says, and I feel her arms catch me as I slump sideways. "You have done your part. I will be here when you wake up." I hope so. But there's a part of me that shrinks back from the place where Archer was inside of me. Maybe this is justified. It's pretty damn arrogant of me, thinking I can avoid death over and over endlessly. With the last tiny bit of strength left in me, I clasp onto Sigrid's hand, and the world dissolves into nothing. Chapter 19.
Love would have been your downfall. You hide in lies, Juliet.
The words resound in my head, over and over and over. The darkness surges through it. It ransacks my body. It evaporates every part of me. It devours my soul. And then it fires. Dark, dark, dark. And with a gasp that then releases into a scream, I lurch from the ground. My breath heaves in and out of my chest, too fast and so full it hurts, and my hands automatically flinch to my chest. No hole. Solid skin. "It is all right, Juliet." I feel hands on either side of my face, and then Sigrid's face comes into focus. "Welcome back." I'm still breathing hard, my breath ripping in and out in desperate sucks. But as my eyes cast around me, I remember where I am and what is happening. Instantly, I scramble to my feet. We're surrounded by a circle of Roman's people. Every single one of them is dressed in solid black, each of them with a gun pointed straight at one headstone in particular. Bound to that headstone is Archer King. Heavy chains are wrapped around his body, glowing brilliant gold. He strains against them, death in his eyes. "He cannot use a single ability while he is bound," Sigrid says, as she steps to my side. "It is how we managed to kill him last time."
"One would think he would learn,"
Roman says darkly. He stands in front of Archer, arms folded over his chest. His black hair falls into those brilliant blue eyes of his, but he makes no move to push it out. His hands are covered in black scorch marks, and I have to wonder what it took to bind Archer while I was dead. But I can't focus, because all I see is the woman standing before Archer. She takes one of those necklaces of Malcolm's and presses it to Archer's chest. He takes a heaving gasp, his face crumpling in pain. And just a moment later, the crystal that was once white glows red. "Tatiana's gift is binding," Sigrid says, observing the scene. "She can sense every individual gift within Archer, and she is binding them to an object until they can be returned to their owners." "The gifted can get their gifts back?" I ask in awe, turning widened eyes at my aunt. "I think so," Sigrid says, looking over at me with a hopeful smile. "We will not know for sure until we try, but Tatiana has done something similar before." "This one is Tasha's," Tatiana says as she hands one necklace to one of Roman's guards. They write the name on a plastic bag, drop it in, and then zip it up. It's placed in a box with dozens of others. Tasha is the 16-year-old girl Marcus just brought back from the dead. "This one belonged to someone named Farron," she says as she binds the next gift to a necklace. Again, it's labeled and put into the box. And my heart starts beating very, very fast. We have a necromancer. I'm waiting for a call from the police department in Kansas to find out where my mother's remains are. And now we have someone who is able to bind gifts to an object. "Can you find a gift that belonged to someone named Ingrid?" I blurt before I can think it through. Tatiana glances over her shoulder at me, but with the dozens of gifts she's combing through, she doesn't seem to think anything of it. She presses another necklace to Archer's chest, pulling another pained yell from him. It glows brilliant red. Here she is, Tatiana says, extending the necklace in my direction. I assume Ingrid means something to you. I trust you will return her gift to her. I can't find words. Silently, with wide, shocked eyes, I step forward and take the necklace from her. I just stare at it for several long moments as she resumes her work. Curse weaver. My mother was a curse weaver. Her gift was powerful and complex enough that in the 28 years he possessed it, Archer King never learned how to wield it. A precious gift, Sigrid says, her tone low and reverent. Protect it well. I wonder if she has any inkling what is on my mind. Does she see my plan? Does she sense my hope? I loop the silver chain over my head and drop it around my neck. Studying the glowing crystal for a moment, I tuck it into my shirt, pulling it out of sight. How many are left? Sigrid asks as she steps up to Tatiana's side. 8, she says simply. And there are 49 in the box, Sigrid says, disgust and horror in her tone. 58. That's how many lives Archer ended by taking their gifts. 58 people died because of his greed. One by one, Tatiana finishes binding the remaining gifts. And when she's taken the last one, Archer practically hangs from the chains, breathing hard, sagging. We need to do it now, Sigrid says. It is senseless to delay. Roman looks over at me, and for a moment, we stare at each other. There is an uneasy feeling of urgency and darkness and weight. You grew up without a mother because of this man, Roman says, low and easy. The task is yours if you want it. Hammer, hammer, hammer. My heart thuds hard and bold in my chest. My eyes slide back over to Archer's. Slowly, he lifts his head, daring me with those devil eyes. I take one step forward. In my mind, I see my panicked, frantic mother racing through a cornfield. I take another step forward. I see her muttering words, desperate to save her infant daughter. I step closer to him. She snaps my neck and turns to face the fate she cannot outrun. I stop right in front of Archer. I saw him take his hand to her throat and take the gift hanging round my neck from her, and then drop her to the ground, dead. As I look into his eyes, I remember feeling hungry and wondering if I was going to die for the first time when I was 3. I remember stealing something from a grocery store for the first time when I was 5. I remember seeing another foster kid overdose in front of me when I was 8. I remember being in that fire and then screaming in pain on the way to the hospital. I remember dozens of kids ridiculing me because I was poor, badly dressed, and always so angry. I had the life I had because of this despicable man in front of me. You may be a strong woman, Juliet Doe, but your own recklessness and savagery will be your demise, Archer says. His tone is low, gravelly, but I know every person here can hear him. And before the next summer solstice, you will hate the man you love most. An evil smile pulls on his mouth. You will be alone again, and you will wish that curse never existed. I snap. My hand darts out, and my fingers break through his ribcage. My fingers lace around that warm, soft, beating organ. Archer's eyes go wide with a gasp. His weight slips back against the headstone. Slowly, his eyes rise up to meet mine, even as blood pours out of his chest, coating my hand, my arm, dripping down to my elbow. You and I are not so different, he gasps. Surrounded by others, but never trusting anyone enough to let them truly love every part of you. I'm shaking, trembling from head to toe, and I'm frozen. He needs to die. He's going to die. I'm gripping his heart, and there's no way to repair the damage I've done. But I'm frozen. Am I a bad person? Am I the kind of person I always looked at as a villain? If I were a good person, so many things would be different. I can't, I say in a whisper. I can't. And Roman knows exactly what I mean. I can't finish the job. I can't end his life. So Roman steps forward. His eyes are glowing red, black veins sprouting from them. His fangs are long, gleaming in the moonlight. He's a walking nightmare, the black god of death. Roman grips Archer by his hair, and with one quick twist, he rips his head clean off. The rest of his body slumps, and unprepared for the movement, my hand remains around Archer's heart and pulls it clean out when the rest of him crumples against the glowing chains. With a terrified squeak, I drop his heart. It hits the ground with a wet thud. I stare down at my hand, covered in blood. I've killed before. On my resurrection, I killed 2 people in the first 30 minutes. But I was out of control then. I had no idea what I was doing. It wasn't right, not by a long shot, but I didn't know what was happening. Looking down at my hand, I know this is different. I knew what was going to happen when I stepped forward, and I did it anyway. Roman may have finished it, but I started it.
Let's load him up,
Roman orders, unfazed by his part in the death of Archer King.
We need to get him to the crematorium.
Numbly, I stand there, watching as the soldiers undo those glowing chains, as they pick up the pieces of the man. We all must do what must be done, Sigrid says, as she slides her hand into mine, the one not coated in blood. Do not believe the words spoken by a desperate man facing death. He would say anything to keep a place in your mind, to steal your peace. I nod, even if her words don't reach all the way to my brain. Roman knows all the right connections. He's done work in the dark for a long time. He has a woman who meets us at the crematory. In under a minute, they take Archer's body from the back of the truck, haul him through the building, and then load him into the furnace. One by one, Roman's team leaves. Their job done, the man dead. They get to go home. The danger that has kept everyone on high alert for weeks is over. But I stay. Roman stays. Sigrid stays. And 3 hours later, we're handed a box of ashes. Silently, the 3 of us leave the building, load into the truck. I don't know where we're going. I don't ask questions. Roman drives us to the marina at Navy Pier. In the pitch dark, with the wind and the rain picking up, pushing toward freezing, we all climb aboard a boat. As if he knows what he's doing, as if he's done this before, Roman motors out of the marina. He steers the boat out into the pitch darkness of Lake Michigan for nearly an hour, and then kills the motor. May the bastard never be risen again, Sigrid says. Holding the box with a death grip, Roman crosses the boat and hands it to me. Holding his eyes in the dark, I think that maybe he understands.
Monsters are real, sweetheart, and they look like everyone you've ever known.
It's true. We all have a monster in us, and mine has been loud and strong lately. I take the box and stare out into the water. Against my chest, the necklace containing my mother's gift rests. You'll never hurt anyone again, I say, thinking of Ingrid and the little girl who never knew life with a mother. I open the box and, extending my arm over the side of the boat, I sprinkle Archer's ashes. They catch in the wind, blowing over the water before disappearing into it, scattered along its dark surface. When the last of the ashes disappear, I throw the entire box into the lake. Sorry, planet Earth, but I'm not taking any chances of that asshole being resurrected with a couple of ashes harvested out of a cardboard box in the recycling bin. Let's go, Sigrid says plainly. The night is not yet over, and hopefully we have more bodies to deal with. So, Roman returns to the helm and guides back to the marina, back to reality. Chapter 20.
Is this Juliet Doe?
A voice on the other end asks. Yes, I answer, as Roman pulls up in front of the nocturne. He and Sigrid climb out, giving me privacy.
I'm calling you back about your inquiry about the remains of a Jane Doe,
they continue, and my cold, dead heart instantly rips back to life. Yes, I say, too loudly and completely unnecessarily.
Sorry this took so long, but we finally found the record. She was buried in Peace Grove Cemetery in Barlow. The grave will be unmarked, but she's in there somewhere.
It's kind of hard to breathe right now. My chest feels too tight for my own heart. My pulse is racing. They've found her. Her remains are there, somewhere. And we have a necromancer, and all he needs is bones. Peace Grove Cemetery, I repeat.
That's right, ma'am, they confirm. You have a good day.
Thanks, I breathe, my mind over 700 miles away. In the back seat of the truck, I stare at my phone, blinking 5 times. Ingrid Eriksson, my mother, a curse weaver from Norway, died 28 years ago. But now that I know where to look, there are possibilities. If I can find her, if I can bring her remains here, we have a necromancer. Archer King was just a corpse, and he came back and wreaked havoc on the city. Something stings at the back of my eyes, and I squeeze them shut. My father could be anywhere in the world, the pirate with the scars on his face. He could be in France or Indonesia, or he could be right next door, one town over. But my mother, now I know where she is, and now there are possibilities. A blur of motion pulls my eyes, and they slide over to the doors of the building. Sebastian stands there, his eyes wide, his chest heaving. Fallout. There will be fallout. I lied to Sebastian, and now he knows it. And a drip of cold dread sinks down into the pit of my stomach.
You hide in lies, Juliet, and so long as you would have held on to them, you never would have gotten what you want most.
I climb out of the truck and close the door behind me. I find I have a hard time holding Sebastian's eyes as I walk up the stairs toward him. Liar, liar, liar. Why are you so damn screwed up, Juliet?
You're okay?
Sebastian breathes as I stop in front of him. His eyes scan me, and I know what he sees. My shirt is ripped, and it's stained with my blood. My hand is still crusted with Archer's blood as well.
Shit, Juliet. What the hell happened tonight?
We killed Archer, I say. My words come out empty sounding. I know I lied. I did what I had to do. Sebastian brings his hand under my chin, bringing my face and eyes up to meet his. His brows are furrowed, and he studies me like he can read the truth of what's transpired off of my soul. I feel oddly numb right now. I feel detached.
Damn it,
he says in a whisper as he wraps his arms around me, cradling me into his chest. His warm, solid hands hold on to me, almost as if he wishes he could absorb me.
Pretty sure you're trying to kill me with fear. All I want to do is keep you safe. That's a little hard to do when you keep running right into the thick of things.
My automatic response is to apologize. I should apologize. This man loves me, and I do keep running off and doing stupid, reckless things. But I still feel so damn numb. I feel too empty to say anything else. And maybe Sebastian understands that, because he takes my hand, and together we walk into the building, to face the rest of whatever has happened. Could you take any longer? Elena growls, her hands placed on the tabletop. She's bloody. From her head to the expensive boots on her feet, she's splattered with blood. Roman won't say a damn word until you're here. What the hell happened tonight?
Juliet, are you all right?
Mason says in a breath of fear. He crosses the room in 3 long strides. He takes my free hand in both of his, looking me up and down, taking note of all the blood I'm stained with. A low growl sounds deep in Sebastian's throat.
I'm not trying to take her back, asshole,
Mason snarls with a dark look at Sebastian.
I'm worried about my friend.
I'm fine, I say, through a thick throat. I pull my hand from Mason's and hug my arms around myself. I know I look a mess, but I'm fine. I swear. I don't want to be touched right now, if I'm being honest. I kind of want to curl up in a dark place where no one can find me and just disappear for a while. But for the first time ever, there are too many people in my life who care about me. If I were to go missing for a bit, they would come looking for me. Having people who love you is a blessing and a curse. Okay, can we please tell each other what the hell has happened tonight? Elena snarls. And so, Roman tells them what happened. Or at least a version of the truth. Sigrid tells them she had new binding chains created. I made sure I knew Archer was following me, and we fess up to the rumors Sigrid started a few days ago. As the newcomer, outsider, most of Chicago doesn't know much of anything about me, just that I was the trailer trash that caught the attention of the most eligible bachelor in the city. So they were all too eager to believe what was said about me. We lured Archer to the cemetery, we distracted him, we bound him, and then we killed him. I think we better bury his bones 50 feet down this time, Elena growls, a look of disgust on her face.
No need,
Roman says. I'm really grateful he and Sigrid have done all the talking.
We already burned his body and sprinkled the ashes in Lake Michigan.
Each of their brows raise in surprise. Savage, Elena remarks.
Smart,
Sebastian counters.
Not that it matters,
Mason says, as his eyes slide over to Sebastian.
No one is bringing anyone back from the dead again.
All of my organs disappear, and my ears start ringing.
You killed Marcus?
Roman questions, his black brows furrowing.
We couldn't let him live, knowing the risk he possesses,
Sebastian says, casting his dark eyes to Roman.
I found him at your holding facility. Charming place. I took care of him.
No, this isn't what was supposed to happen. Marcus was supposed to stay locked up in Roman's holding facility until I could tell Roman my plan. He was supposed to hold on to the necromancer for me until I could bring back my mother's remains. But Sebastian went and killed him. It's too late. It's a damn good thing no one is paying me any attention in this moment, because I'm pretty sure I've turned 3 different shades of green. My knees feel wobbly. We found the rest of the cult at the location you called in. Elena continues the death report. There were 8 of them there. No signs of any others coming in. I think word got out we were killing followers at the border. It didn't take long. We've already cleaned up the mess. Dead. Elena and Sebastian already killed them all. Maybe Mason had a hand in it, even though he's still human. But no matter, they're all dead. So it is done, Sigrid says. The danger has passed. We can all move on with our lives now. So easily said. No matter that 10 people died tonight. Well, 11, because I died too. But this is Chicago. People die all the time. And sometimes they're more than people. Juliet, are you sure you're okay? Elena asks. She crosses the room to me, pulling me into her arms. You don't look so good. I'm fine, I murmur into the space between her neck and shoulder. But I can't even find it in me to hug her in return. Take her home, my best friend says to my boyfriend. Make her eat something, and she needs blood, and a shower, because she's a damn mess.
I will,
Sebastian promises, his voice firm and committed. Rest easy, everyone, Elena says, as she releases me and steps back. For the first time in weeks, Chicago only has its normal problems to worry about. Good work. Classic CEO Elena, taking charge even if she isn't truly the boss. We turn as seemingly one. Every one of us takes a step toward the door. But for some reason, my eyes slide to the side and catch Roman's. He's looking back at me. Those vivid blue eyes say he knows. He knows that tonight was not what we were making it out to be. He knows what it cost to end this. He knows the risks I took to make this plan work, to make this city safe once again. He watched me die. He had to be the one to kill me. One by one, we are getting deeper into each other's debt, carrying more of each other's secrets, saving each other's lives, ending them. I hate Roman. I do. He is a broody asshole with no compassion. But maybe he isn't the horrible person I once thought he was. He blinks and looks away, opening the door and stepping through without holding it for anyone. He goes straight for the truck, climbs in, and pulls away. Sebastian opens the passenger door for me to his space rocket of a car. I climb in, leaning back against my seat, and close my eyes. I am exhausted now. After everything that's happened, all I want to do right now is fall asleep and not have nightmares. Sebastian drops into the driver's seat and roars the engine to life. He puts it into drive and pulls back onto the road. Oh, where are we going? I ask as my brows furrow. We're heading south, not east back to either of our apartments.
I have something I want to show you,
He answers without looking at me. The rain changes to snow as the sun begins to woo the horizon. It falls in soft, fat flakes. We're not going to want to be on these roads long, or it's going to get ugly. From the heaviness of the sky, I think this is going to be a bad storm. I don't even have to put sunglasses on when the sun breaks into the sky. The cloud cover is so thick, it's barely even brighter than dawn. We roll through an industrial part of town. It's quiet here. This time of day, on a Friday morning, I'd expect it to be busy with workers. But there is only one truck that rolls past us when we turn onto a narrow back street. There isn't a soul around when we park in front of a worn-down-looking warehouse. Sebastian climbs out and, in an instant, is to my door, pulling it open and holding a hand down to help me from my seat. I take it and then follow after him silently as he goes to the rusty door in the center of the building. It smells old in here, like decay and flaking paint. It smells like tires and scraps of wood. A narrow hallway stretches before us. Dozens of doors break off it to the left and right. If I had to guess, I'd say this was some kind of storage facility, though it doesn't have the large garage-style doors I've seen on most.
Come on,
Sebastian says as he walks down the hall, passing one door after another. This building is huge. It feels like it goes on and on. But finally, as we near the end, Sebastian fishes some keys from his pocket. He inserts one into the lock and, with a wee bit of force, gets the knob to twist. Stepping inside, he flicks on a light and waves me in. The light is flickering inside the space, but I realize it isn't for my benefit or need to see. There's a 5-foot-wide strip of space for us to stand in. And then there is a reinforced glass wall. Beyond it is a bed, a toilet, a shower, and a shelf full of supplies, food, changes of clothes, books. And there, in a wheelchair in the center of that prison cell, because that's what it so obviously is, sits Marcus Lontalk. Chapter 21. I stutter as my brain tries to reconcile what I'm seeing with what I believed to be true. I don't understand. I thought you said you killed him. Marcus sits there, banged up and broken, staring out at the both of us. His eyes are solidly black, though he doesn't mutter words, not like when I witnessed him bringing people back from the dead. He just sits there. And he looks absolutely terrifying, so calm and so vengeful. Sebastian slides his fingers through mine, drawing my eyes down to our intertwined fingers.
Marcus's ability is dangerous,
Sebastian says, drawing my gaze up. The look in his eyes is so intense, so deep, so passionate. It kind of takes my breath away.
The havoc he's caused.
Sebastian shakes his head.
But his ability is also invaluable.
Sebastian takes both my hands between his, bringing them up to his chest.
Juliet, after that night Roman brought you into the hospital.
He shakes his head, and his face pales just a little. He looks so torn up, so devastated. I can't help it when something in me softens.
I thought I was going to lose you, and I realized then that I would do anything to keep you safe, to keep you from being ripped away from me.
Sebastian raises one hand, cupping it to the side of my face. His eyes hold mine, and I feel myself falling deeper, farther into him.
I love you, Juliet, with every fiber of my being. You have resurrected me from anger and despair. You've brought me back to life and given me something to live for, and I'm never going to let anything take you from me, even death.
Oh, I understand now.
I don't care if this is crazy,
Sebastian says, as he brings his other hand to my face, cradling me with such passion and care.
I'll let Marcus spend the rest of his miserable life in this cell. I swear, Juliet, I won't let anything happen to you ever again.
Emotion wells in my eyes. My hands rise, fisting Sebastian's shirt in them. No one has ever fought for me. No one has taken to such savagery to protect me. No one has ever thought me valuable enough to give a shit about. But looking into Sebastian's eyes, I believe him. This is a man who would move heaven and earth for me. I love you, I whisper, my voice trembling. He doesn't know that losing me isn't a risk. Because if my reckless escapades lead to my death, I'll just come back. I'll come back over and over and over. Sebastian will never lose me to death. But looking into this man's eyes, fear strikes my heart for the first time. Sebastian is immortal. He's truly over 100 years old. But he is still subject to stakings, to beheadings. Look at me. In the time I've been in Chicago, I've been staked, liquefied, and shot. In the 8 months I've been here, I've died 3 times. I could lose Sebastian. He could die. He could be taken from me at any moment. As I look over at Marcus, a sense of calm washes through me. Sebastian doesn't need the necromancer for me, but I might need the necromancer for him. And suddenly, I don't feel very bad about the fact that this man is locked in a glass prison, buried deep in a forgotten warehouse. He's done bad things. He's helped an evil man. But his ability, as Sebastian said, Marcus is invaluable. But we can't ever risk him getting away. Because someday we might need him. I might need him. And now, I know where my mother is buried. And I need to bring her remains to this necromancer.
I won't let anything happen to you, Juliet,
Sebastian whispers. He brings my face back to his, and I tip my lips up to meet his. He kisses me deeply. He kisses me with fear and worry. He kisses me with possession and hunger. He kisses me with love. I'm not okay. In the past 12 hours, so much has messed with my head. I know I'm not all right. But I'm starving for feeling, for passion, for love. And it's here, grasping onto me like he's afraid I'm going to evaporate at any moment. Gasping for air, I pull back just slightly, looking up at him. Let's go home, I say. I'm a disaster. I need to shower, and I'm pretty damn thirsty. With a wicked grin, one that shows those slightly pointed canine teeth that make him look like a vampire always, Sebastian dips down for one last kiss. And then, we walk out of that prison room. Sebastian locks the door behind him, and we leave our prisoner to rot in his cell. Chapter 22. It's a full-on blizzard by the time we get back to Sebastian's building. It took us 3 times longer than it should have to get back. The snow is building up on the roads, and visibility is wildly short. So, even though I don't have anything to fear from a car wreck, I still breathe a sigh of relief when Sebastian pulls into the parking garage and glides into the spot with his name on it. We're in this strange place in our relationship. We're not having sex. Sebastian wants to wait until we're married, and I respect that. But we also spend most every day in one of our places or the other, almost never apart. It kind of feels like we're already living together, even though we're not. With everything going on, we haven't even begun to think about looking for a new place together. But still, I have everything I need when we ride the elevator up to his penthouse and step out into his white wonderland. He has a cleaning crew that comes in twice a week, though I honestly don't know what they do to keep busy. Sebastian is impeccably organized and tidy, so when we step inside, I hardly even dare walk across the pristine floor. I'm such a disgusting, bloody mess.
I'll make us some lunch,
Sebastian says, pressing a kiss to my forehead. I need something to drink first, I say. My throat is on fire, and it's hard to concentrate on anything beside the beating hearts of all the humans that live in this building. I cross to the fridge and take out a bag. I don't have the time or patience to let it warm to room temperature. I bite into it and suck it down cold. How can blood be so revolting when I'm holding the beating heart that pumps it, and so delicious in a moment like this? Thirst temporarily sated, I head into Sebastian's bedroom and then to the grand bathroom. I scrub my body twice. The water runs red for 2 solid minutes. I try not to look down at my feet, at the swirling color that eventually goes down the drain, but blood is one of those things that's difficult to ignore. I've touched plenty of blood in my life. I'm a frickin' doctor. I work in the emergency room. I've assisted in dozens of surgeries over the past few months I've been at this hospital. I have had blood on my hands, in my hair, on my face, more times than I can count. I brace my hands on the walls of the shower, letting the water pound on the back of my neck before dripping down my body. Holding Archer King's heart in my hand was different. I didn't want him to keep talking. He killed my mother. He's the reason I was always hungry, always scared about where I was going to be placed next, always angry because I saw other kids who had parents who loved them. He is the reason for that. He's killed more than 50 others. But in the end, the reason I couldn't stop myself from crushing my hand through his ribcage and digging my fingers into his most vital organ was because I couldn't face the words he was saying. You hide in lies, Juliet. So long as you would have held on to them, you never would have gotten what you want most. What do I want most? Does anyone really know the answer to that question? I want respect. I want to have people I care about. I want to have food in my stomach and a bed of my own to sleep in. But is any of that really what I want most? Lies. Archer knew I had been lying. Everyone lies, but the words he said, the things he knew, I would question his claimed gift of prophecy. No one really knows the future. It must be subjective. There must be limitations to what Archer knew about the future, or he would have foreseen his own death and avoided it. But how did he know? I am a liar, and only 3 people in this city know the truth. Malcolm, because I needed his gift. Sigrid, because I trust her. And Roman, because he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. All of Roman's soldiers overheard the conversation in the cemetery, but they were told that everything was for show. We mixed truth with lies so effortlessly, I'm confident they won't know what to believe. But I hid the truth of what my mother was from Mason. I didn't want anything to change the way he looked at me, and so when Malcolm showed me my past, showed me my mother, we asked him to leave the building. I've never breathed a word of any of this to Elena, and she's my best friend. She knows all of my dark stories. She knows how I got every scar on my body. But I have never even considered telling her about my mother, about the curse she placed on me, how I can't die, and how I have a gift that no other vampire has ever had, but I don't even know what it is yet. And Sebastian. Anxiety tightens my chest and then my throat. Self-hatred rises inside of me and stabs at the back of my eyes. I place one hand over my face as a sob rips past my lips. I love Sebastian. I love him like I've never loved anyone in my life. I didn't even know it was possible to feel like this about someone. But, I'm keeping huge secrets from him. This is all a huge part of who I am. These secrets are puzzle pieces that make up who I am as a whole. And I'm keeping them tucked away, hidden, invisible from the man I love. And when I look deep down in me, when I'm truly honest with myself, I know that I'll never, ever tell him. Sebastian is a man of science. He's also a product of the supernatural. He'll want to know why. He will crave knowing why I am like this. He'll want to replicate it, and I just can't. The truth sets us free. If you had come clean about your gift, but even more so about your curse, your future would have been entirely different. Get out, get out, get out. I scream the words internally over and over, pressing in on my temples. Archer is dead. He's dead. He was a raving lunatic who would have said anything to get in my head. And it's working. It's absolutely working. Love would have been your downfall. No, he's wrong. Love has made me feel alive. It's made me a normal human being. It's made me the happiest I've ever been. For yourself and the one you love. No, we're happy. We're perfect together. Sebastian and I were made for each other. And before the next summer solstice, you will hate the man you love most. Never. I could never hate Sebastian. And this is what makes me doubt all the rest of what he said.
I love Sebastian. I love him. Love would have been your downfall. Your own recklessness and savagery will be your demise. My eyes blink open to stare at the white tile before me. What have I done in the name of love? I've lied. I've put myself at risk. I've put others at risk. I turned a blind eye to the killing of a dozen others, even if they weren't innocent. And now I've come to terms with the fact that Marcus will spend the rest of his life in a tiny prison because he is the key to getting back my mother, and the key to bringing Sebastian back if anything were to happen to him. How far is too far? It sounds so romantic saying that we'd do anything for the one we love. We hear it in movies. They write entire books about it. Every one of us wishes for that kind of love with a burning heart. I have that kind of love now. But how far is too far? I straighten in the shower. Am I even a good person? Am I any better than those that followed Archer King? Hell, am I any better than Archer? He went too far. I think that maybe I've gone too far. Sebastian lied to the entire Night Council. He stole Marcus and went to every effort of locking the man up in a prison cell where he could rot away for the rest of his life. Maybe Sebastian is willing to go too far too. Where do we draw the line? What is romantic? What is justified? What is the show of commitment and love? And what is going too far, crossing a line? I am shaking from head to foot as I turn the water off. I'm numb. With jerky movements, I wrap a towel around my body and then walk into the closet. I have one rod and 2 drawers where I've stored some clothes. I pull on a dark blue nightgown. I'm tired. I kind of just want to go to bed. I drag a brush through my wet hair and then pad out into the living room to tell Sebastian I need some sleep. I need to sleep for 1,000 years, and then maybe, when I wake up, I'll be able to sort out all of these gray threads. It's a rare gift. With the clouds being this heavy and this dark, the window shades are fully open, even though it's pushing noon. But it isn't just the natural light that makes the space glow. There are dozens and dozens of candles lit. They line every surface and cast the entire space in a magical hue. It looks surreal in here, with the flickering of the flames against all the white surfaces and the torrent of snow pouring down outside. And through the dim light, my eyes find Sebastian. His dark eyes lock onto mine, and a soft smile pulls at his mouth. Casually, slowly, confidently, he walks across the penthouse until we meet in the middle of the living room. He crooks just one finger under my chin, tilting my face up to his. He presses his lips to mine. Soft, easy, so sure. He runs one hand down my left arm until his hand catches in mine. And then, with a grin, he slowly begins to lower. My breath catches in my throat. My heart begins beating 1,000 beats per minute. Once again, something at the back of my eyes stings. And I can barely breathe as I watch Sebastian lower down onto one knee and reach into his pocket with his free hand. "Juliet," he says, his voice breathy, his expression so happy. From his pocket, he removes a black velvet box. And when he opens it and reveals the most beautiful ring I've ever seen, my hands come to cover my mouth. It's a pear-shaped diamond, and there's a band below the center diamond. 6 marquee diamonds shaped in a sun spray. A nearly identical band fits into the top of the ring, completing the burst of rays. "I never thought I was going to feel alive again," Sebastian says, as he takes my left hand, cradling it in his own. "I never thought I'd find someone who didn't look away from the darkness of my past because it was just too damn heavy." My heart is thundering in my ears. I feel lightheaded. I feel detached from the earth. "I never dreamed you and I would end up here. That when I first met you, you would be the other half to my broken soul," he says. The look in his eyes, it's so open, so vulnerable. "But I swear, sometimes when we talk, I think you can read my damn mind." I don't think I've taken one breath since he dropped to his knee. Over the past nearly 7 months, I haven't stopped thinking about you, even once.
He swears.
You're in my mind every second. You've taken me prisoner, body and soul, and us together.
He shakes his head, wonder filling his expression.
You and I are an unstoppable force. Love would have been your downfall, for yourself and the one you love.
Unstoppable. Would anything stop me, Sebastian, us, when it comes to one another? Is there no line we wouldn't cross?
I swear, I will do everything.
Sebastian swears an oath.
Everything to give you the life you deserve, to make you safe, to make this city look at you in the way you deserve.
His promises are beautiful. They reach down into the depths of my soul. But I'm seeing Marcus stuck in a wheelchair in that prison cell, a backup for something that Sebastian has no promise will ever happen. I'm hearing Sebastian lie to the Night Council. I'm seeing Sebastian nearly tear Roman in half because he brought me back to Sebastian, broken, dying.
We were meant to be together,
Sebastian says, his tone low, intimate.
Before next summer solstice, you will hate the man you love most. I've waited my entire immortal life for you, Juliet,
Sebastian whispers. He poises the ring at my finger.
Marry me.
Boom, boom, boom. My heart clashes like lightning.
You will hate the man you love most.
And as my eyes focus back on that man, the man that I love most, I find myself utterly frozen with insatiable love and suffocating doubt. The end of Book 2. This has been Born Savage, Blood Rose Nights, Book 2, written by Keary Taylor, narrated by Raven Wildwood. Copyright 2022 by Keary Taylor. Production copyright by Keary Taylor.